Hello and welcome to this class of Principles of Microeconomics. I am your teacher Muhammad Nadeem Sarwar. Today we shall discuss the supply theory and market equilibrium in microeconomics. In this lecture, first we shall get ourselves introduced with supply theory. After that, we shall discuss the price determination mechanism in market economy and how the prices and the quantities traded in the market are affected by the changes in demand, supply, or in both. So, let's start with the lecture. Students, as we discussed in our previous lecture on demand, that in ordinary language, the meaning of demand is different than what it is in economics. On the same lines, we shall start discussing supply theory by first defining what is meant by supply in economics. In economics, we define supply as the different quantities of a commodity that the producer of that commodity would be willing to sell at different prices during a given time period. Students, when we say that a producer is ready to sell specific quantity of a commodity at a specific price, it automatically shows his or her willingness to do so. Like demand, the quantity supply also depends on many factors, such as price of the good, price of related goods, money, technology, cost, season, etc. The quantity supplied increases with the price. It also increases with an improvement in technology and with the more stock of money available. However, the quantity supplied may decrease with increase in cost of production. Now, let's discuss some associated terms before we discuss the law of supply. First of such term is stock, which refers to the total quantity of a commodity that is available in or near market but can be brought in to the market for sale at a short notice. However, the supply will refer to the quantity that producer will be willing to sell. Hence, supply may be equal to stock or may be less than the stock. Next is the reserve price. Since producer bears a cost for producing a commodity, therefore the producer expects some price to yield against the sale of this commodity. Similarly, the producer also has a minimum price threshold, and this minimum price threshold is called as reserve price. If the price of the commodity in the market falls below this level, the producer would like to sell zero quantity of that commodity. Now let's discuss the law of supply. Students, as selling more and more quantity of a commodity brings revenue to the producer, and at higher prices there are more benefits to the producer if he sells higher quantities. Therefore, when other things remain the same, an increase in price results in an increase in quantity supplied and vice versa. That is, there is a positive relation between price and quantity supplied in the market. Here, when the price of the commodity increases from 10 to 20, the quantity supplied increases from 0 to 20. Similarly, as higher price brings benefit to the producer, so he or she would like to sell more and more quantity at higher and higher price. This is shown by the table. And if we plot it on that diagram, taking quantity supply on x-axis and price on the y-axis, we would have an upward sloping curve called as supply curve, which shows what quantity is being offered to sell at different level of prices. Now let's discuss the difference between movement along supply curve and shifting of supply curve. Again, this concept is similar to what we studied in the lecture on demand. If a change in the price of the commodity brings change in the quantity supplied, we move along the same supply curve. That is, when the price of some commodity increases and that results in increasing its quantity supplied, the supply curve extends, and when price decreases, the quantity supply also decreases, hence supply curve contracts. However, like we studied in earlier part of this lecture, that supply is also affected by the change in technology, in the cost of production, in the amount of money available in according to the season, and so on and so forth. Therefore, when there is a change in any relating factors other than the price, the change in supply results in shifting the supply curve. If any sort of change increases the supply, for example, availability of more quantity of money or improvement in technology, etc., then this results in shifting the supply curve to the right. Same like we discussed in demand. A change in quantity supply due to change in price is called as change in quantity supplied. And a change in supply due to any other factor is called as change in supply. Now let's discuss the other side of this lecture, which is the market equilibrium. We define market as a place, as a system, as a platform, or as a forum where buyers and sellers of a particular commodity come next to each other. They talk to each other and negotiate the price and the quantity of the commodity. The examples are like we go for shopping in cloth market, buy clothes. There are different sellers. There are so many buyers as well. A buyer goes to a shop and he interacts with the shopkeeper who is the seller of the commodity. He negotiates the price and the quantity and the deal is done. Same is for the labor market, in which firms are on the demand side and we, the workers, are on the supply side. Examples of online markets include Daraz in Pakistan, Alibaba, eBay, Amazon, etc. There are two natural forces in the market, one called demand and other called supply. We have discussed demand in previous lecture and has discussed supply in previous part of the same lecture. Now let's study what is meant by market equilibrium. Students, equilibrium is discussed in physics, mathematics, and so many other sciences. It is a condition that refers to a stable situation in which the opposite forces acting on a body cancels out and hence body has no tendency for the change to occur. Therefore, any situation in which the change is not desirable is called as equilibrium. In market, there are two opposite forces, demand and supply. When the demand and supply are equal in magnitude, that position is called as market equilibrium. In this table, we can see that when the price is increasing, the quantity demanded is falling and quantity supplied is increasing. At price 20, the quantity demand is exactly equal to quantity supply. Hence, at this price, we will say that market is in equilibrium. This can be shown with the help of diagram as this. If the price is less than 20, say it is 10, then we can see that the quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. Therefore, there will be shortage in the market. This shortage will push prices up and will adjust the quantities as well. Therefore, this is not a stable point. Similarly, any price above 20 is also not stable because at such price the supply would be greater than demand and this will create a surplus in the market which will disturb the prices and hence affect the quantity demanded and supplied. The only position where all these forces cancel out each other and there is no tendency for change is where quantity demand is equal to quantity supply. Here it happens when the price is 20 and the quantity traded is 20. Sorry, the quantity traded is 60 units. Now let's see what happens when there is a change in either demand or in supply. But before this, first we discuss excess demand and excess supply cases and how market approaches to equilibrium from any of these two conditions. First, excess demand. As the name suggests, this happens at a price where quantity demand is greater than quantity supplied. That is, at any price level which is below the equilibrium. Since there are many consumers who are willing and able to purchase the commodity, but they are unable to find the commodity. Therefore, they will be willing to pay higher price to get the commodity. Opposite happens when the price is above the equilibrium level. Here, the quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded in the market. So, where the sellers will not be able to sell all of the quantity they wish to, they will decrease the prices so that more and more consumers can buy their products. This will continue until we reach an equilibrium. How we reach from disequilibrium to equilibrium, let's understand it with the help of an example where the price level is at P2. The quantity supplied is greater than the quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. In this case, many consumers who would like to buy the commodity, but they will not be able to buy it. Some of them will offer high price to the producers, and this will push up the prices. An increase in the price will result in expansion of quantity supplied. Hence, we will move along this supply curve upward. The quantity supply will increase. Similarly, an increase in prices will result in contraction of demand curve. That is, some of the consumers will not be willing or able to buy the commodity at higher prices. So, demand curve will contract. This will continue until the prices are reached at a level where quantity demand becomes equal to quantity supplied, and hence market comes into equilibrium. Now let's see what happens when there is a change in demand or in supply. Remember, change in demand or change in supply refers to the change because of the factors other than the price of commodity. Let's assume that the market is in equilibrium at point E. The income of the consumer increases. In this case, demand will change. And we know that for normal goods, an increase in income results in increase in demand. And this will result in shifting the demand curve to right, that is from D to D1. If the price level stays at PE, there will be a gap in quantity demanded and quantity supplied. This gap will eventually result in causing the prices to increase. An increase in the price level will increase the quantity supplied, so we will move along the supply curve. It will decrease the quantity demanded, so we will also move along the demand curve but in opposite direction until we reach at a point marked as E1 where prices and where the quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. Hence, because of an increase in the income which resulted in increase in the demand for the normal good, the final price is higher than initial price. Similarly, the quantity traded is higher in quantity than previously traded quantity. Now let's discuss what will happen if the good is inferior good. In case of inferior good, an increase in income results in decrease in demand for that good. This results in shifting the demand curve to left. If the price stays at same level, that is at PE, this will create a gap between the quantity demanded and quantity supplied. This time, the quantity supplied is higher than quantity demanded. Therefore, producers, when they will realize that they are not able to sell all the quantity they want at this price, they will start decreasing the prices. This will result in contraction of supply curve, but this will result in expansion of demand curve. It will continue until we are at point E1, where again both the quantity demanded and quantity supplied are equal. Hence, we can say that in this case, the final prices will be lower and the quantity traded will also be less. Let's discuss what happens when there are taxes on the production and these taxes increase. Since tax on the production increases the production cost of the commodity, so the producers will decrease the quantity supplied of the commodity and hence the supply curve will shift to left. If price stays at same PE level, the gap between quantity supplied and demanded at price PE will result in increasing the price because of shortage. It will continue until we reach at E1, where the quantity demanded is again equal to quantity supplied. What happens if energy prices decrease? This will be a favorable situation for the producers of the commodity. Hence, they will increase the production and the supply curve will shift to the right. Finally, this will result in decreasing the price, but quantity traded will increase. So, we can conclude that when the demand for something or some commodity increases, the price increases and also the quantity traded increases. Opposite happens when there is a decrease in demand. However, an increase in supply results in decreasing the prices but increasing the quantity traded. And an increase in supply results in decreasing the prices and increase in quantity traded, whereas a decrease in supply results in increasing the price and decrease in quantity traded. Now we discuss the situation when both demand and supply increase simultaneously. Let's first discuss the case of an equal increase in both demand and supply. In this case, the demand curve will shift to the right and the price curve will also shift to the right. First, the demand curve shift to the right. This creates a shortage and tends the market price to increase. However, when the supply increases, the supply curve shifts to the left, fills the shortage, and therefore there is no change in the price. However, there is a significant change in the quantity traded. Next is the case when increase in demand is greater than increase in the supply. As we discussed, that increase in demand will create a shortage and hence prices will start increasing. An increase in supply will partially fill this gap. Therefore, the prices will not increase too much. However, there will be some increase in the price because increase in supply has not fully accommodated the shortage. Therefore, finally, the price will increase somewhat and the quantity traded will also increase. Next, we discuss what happens when demand and supply both increase but increase in supply is greater than increase in demand. An increase in demand first creates shortage, which may result in increasing the price, but at the same time, the supply responds more aggressively. Therefore, supply curve shifts to the right. In fact, the response of supply is so aggressive that it not only covers the shortage, but in fact it creates some surplus. Therefore, because of the surplus in the market, the final prices will decrease and quantity traded will increase. You can also discuss different cases with changes in demand and supply yourself now. That's all for this lecture. In the next lecture, we shall discuss consumer surplus, producer surplus, floor price, spot price, and price ceiling. Please post your questions and give your feedback in comments. Also consider liking the video, sharing it, and subscribing the channel. Thank you and goodbye.